beloved chosen one. You need to hear this with a calm and open spirit, because what looked like rejection in your life was not the end of your story. And it was never the proof that you were forgotten. It was direction. It was the hand of God moving in ways you could not yet understand, guiding you away from places that could not hold what He placed inside you. You have spent so much time looking back at closed doors, unanswered prayers, broken relationships, missed opportunities, and moments when people turned away from you, wondering what was wrong with you, wondering why your heart had to carry so much confusion, wondering why others seemed welcomed while you were left standing outside. But heaven is telling you now that you are never being cast aside. You are being set apart. There is a difference between being denied and being redirected. And in your pain, it was hard to tell the two apart. When you were not chosen, you thought you had lost. When your presence was overlooked, you thought your value had been reduced. When people failed to recognize your heart, your loyalty, your gifts, and your sincerity, you may have believed that maybe you were too much, or not enough, or simply born to walk through life carrying a strange ache that no one else seemed to understand. Yet the truth is more powerful than the lie that tried to settle over your mind. God was protecting your purpose while you were mourning your plans. You were not built for every room. You were not created to be affirmed by every voice. You were not sent into this world to fit comfortably inside spaces that required you to shrink, dilute your spirit, betray your convictions, or silence the deep stirring God placed within you. Some doors had to close because your future could not survive inside them. Some people had to leave because they were attached to a version of you that could never reach your calling. Some invitations had to pass you by because acceptance in the wrong place would have delayed obedience in the right one. What hurt you was real, but it was not random. God does not waste pain, and He certainly does not waste the tears of someone He has marked with purpose. That is why your life has felt different. Even in moments when you tried to blend in, there was something in you that could not fully settle among the ordinary patterns around you. You noticed things others ignored. You felt deeply when others remained untouched. You carried convictions that made some people uncomfortable. You longed for truth when others preferred appearances. You wanted peace, but not the false peace that comes from pretending. You wanted love, but not the shallow kind that disappears when tested. You wanted meaning, not performance. And because of that, your path has often felt lonely. But loneliness is not always abandonment. Sometimes it is the sacred clearing God creates when He is about to speak more clearly than before. This is why you must not interpret every loss through the language of defeat. Some losses are deliverance. Some endings are mercy. Some separations are sacred. The hand of God can feel confusing when it interrupts your expectations, because you are looking at the immediate wound while He is looking at the eternal outcome. You are grieving the moment, while He is guarding the mission. You are asking why it fell apart, while He is already preparing the ground where your life will finally make sense. This is not coincidence. This is divine intervention. Think about how many times you almost attached yourself to something that looked promising but carried no peace. Think about the times you begged for what later proved harmful. Think about the moments when you were desperate to be included, only to discover later that the very place you wanted access to was filled with compromise, confusion, envy, or spiritual emptiness. Had God allowed every desire to be granted in the season you requested it, you might have gained what you wanted and lost what you were called to become. So what felt like silence was wisdom. What felt like distance was protection. What felt like rejection was redirection by a father who could see what you could not. And now you are standing at a threshold where you must let the old interpretation die. You cannot keep calling yourself rejected when heaven calls you chosen. You cannot keep naming yourself abandoned when God has been orchestrating your steps with precision. You cannot keep building your identity around who refused you, ignored you, betrayed you, or underestimated you. Their inability to discern you was never the measure of your worth. Their failure to welcome you was never evidence that you lacked value. It only revealed that not everyone can recognize what God is preparing. Type 222 in the comments if you are ready to stop calling redirection rejection. There is a holy strength rising in you now, and it begins with seeing your history differently. You are not a victim of random disappointment. You are not the leftover of other people's choices. You are not wandering without design. You are being led. Even the delays, the detours, the waiting, the uncomfortable endings, and the strange seasons of isolation are serving a purpose greater than your present understanding. God is not scrambling to fix your life after human beings damaged it. He has been ahead of every moment, weaving even the painful parts into something that will one day leave you speechless with gratitude. So breathe again. Let your spirit settle. Release the need to force open what God has closed. Release the need to chase approval from those assigned only to witness your transition, not accompany your destiny. Release the belief that being turned away means being unloved. You are loved with intention. You are guided with precision. You are carried by a wisdom that does not fail. And the same God who allowed the redirection is the God who will reveal why it was necessary. Soon you will see that what broke your heart also broke your chains. Soon you will understand that what seemed like a painful no was heaven's merciful not here. Soon you will look back and say with trembling wonder that you were never rejected at all. You were being moved by God toward the place where your life could finally become everything it was meant to be. Beloved chosen one. The pain of being overlooked reaches deeper when it comes from people who should have seen you clearly. That is why this part of your journey must be spoken with care. Because some of your heaviest wounds did not begin with strangers. They began in familiar places. They came from people whose approval once mattered to you, from circles where you hoped to be safe, from moments when you expected to be recognized and instead felt invisible. You brought your heart, your faith, your loyalty, and your honest intentions. Yet something about your presence still seemed to unsettle others. You were not trying to compete with them. You were not trying to stand above them. Yet the very thing that made you different became the reason they kept you at a distance. This is where the story of David begins to walk beside your own in a natural and powerful way. David was not the obvious choice in the eyes of men. He was the son left outside. He was the one not called in when the family gathered for the moment that mattered. When the prophet Samuel came to anoint the future king, David's father presented the other sons first. One by one they stood there, strong in appearance, impressive in the ways people admire. Yet none of them carried the answer God was looking for. David was still in the field, still working, still unseen by the ones closest to him. Before kingship ever touched his life, neglect touched it first. You understand this more than most people realize. You know what it feels like to be present and still not be considered. You know what it is to carry something precious inside you while others look past you as though your life holds no special weight. You know the quiet ache of wondering why you are always the one left on the edge while others are brought into the center. And when those moments repeat often enough, the soul can start to believe a cruel lie. It can start to believe that being unseen by people means being forgotten by God. But David's story stands as proof that heaven does not follow human ranking. David was hidden from the ceremony, but he was not hidden from God. Men looked at the visible sun, but God was watching the shepherd in the field. That is the truth you need resting in your spirit now. The places where people failed to choose you were never the places where God failed to see you. In fact, some of the seasons when you felt most ignored were the very seasons when heaven's attention rested most strongly on your life. The field was not a sign of David's insignificance. It was the place where his heart was being formed away from applause, away from performance, away from the noise of human comparison. This matters because rejection has a way of making you question your value. It tries to rename your hidden season as a wasted season. It whispers that if no one is calling your name, then your purpose must not be real. Yet David teaches you something holy. Being overlooked by people does not cancel what God has already decided. It only reveals how limited human sight can be. Jesse forgot to mention David, but God did not forget him. The family did not think to bring him forward, but God had already marked him. The delay in being recognized did not reduce the certainty of the calling, and perhaps that is where your heart begins to soften today. Maybe the pain was not that you had no value. Maybe the pain was that the people around you did not have the vision to recognize what God had placed within you. That is a very different story. It means you were not rejected because you were empty. You were redirected because your life could not be defined by blind human judgment. David could not become who he was meant to be by living under the measurement of people who only understood appearances. God had to bring him through a path that would prove where real worth is found. Hear this scripture now and let it settle deeply within you. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7. That single verse opens a door of healing for every soul that has been misread, overlooked, and underestimated. People measure what they can easily see. God measures what cannot be faked. People respond to image, status, polish, and position. God responds to heart, surrender, obedience, and truth. David did not look like the answer to anyone else in that room, but he was already the answer in the eyes of God. So when you think back on the moments when others passed over you, do not stop at the surface of the wound. Look deeper. Remember David in the field. Remember that heaven can call your name even when no one else thinks to mention it. Remember that being outside the room does not mean you are outside the will of God. Sometimes the one left in the field is the one being prepared for the oil. Sometimes the one who seems forgotten is the one heaven is about to reveal. That is why you must not build your identity around who failed to choose you. Their blindness was never your definition. Their omission was never your destiny. The silence around your name was never the silence of God. Like David, you may have been hidden from human celebration, but you were never hidden from divine purpose. And one day you will understand that what felt like rejection was the beginning of redirection. Because God was leading you away from false measures and toward the place where His choice over your life would become unmistakably clear. Beloved chosen one. Once David was brought in from the field and anointed before his family, everything did not suddenly become easy. That is an important truth for your spirit right now, because many people assume that if God has chosen you, the path ahead should immediately open in clear and glorious ways. But often the opposite happens. The oil comes first, and then the hidden process begins. The calling is spoken, but the fulfillment still unfolds through valleys, tension, waiting, and painful misunderstandings. David was marked by God, yet he returned to ordinary places. He still lived in the tension between what heaven had declared and what earth had not yet recognized. And that is where many chosen ones lose heart. They think that if the promise is real, the struggle should disappear. But sometimes the struggle is the road that carries the promise into form. You may be standing in that exact place now. You have sensed that God is doing something with your life, yet the outer picture still looks confusing. You know deep inside that you are not here by accident. Yet your circumstances do not fully match what your spirit has been told. Doors remain closed. People still misread you. The place you thought would welcome you still keeps you at a distance. And because of that, you are tempted to wonder whether the first sign of favor was only a passing moment. But David shows you that divine selection does not erase process. It begins it. After the anointing, David was not placed on a throne. He was shaped through hidden movement, and eventually he stood before Goliath, a giant that terrified an entire nation. This is where the message becomes even more personal for you, because the giant in David's story is not only a historical enemy, it also mirrors the massive obstacles that rise in front of a chosen life. Rejection itself can feel like a giant. Fear can feel like a giant. Delay can feel like a giant. The mocking voices that say you will never become who God showed you can feel like a giant. And one of the deepest battles is this one. Will you believe what God said about you? Or will you bow to what looks larger than your calling? David did not arrive at that battlefield with the confidence of human status. He came carrying a history with God that had been formed in secret. In the field, while no crowd was watching, he had already learned who God was. He had already seen deliverance. He had already discovered that hidden seasons are never empty when God is present. So when he faced the giant, he was not drawing strength from public applause. He was drawing strength from private faithfulness. That is why your hidden years matter so much. The seasons when nobody celebrated you were not barren seasons. They were training grounds. They were the place where your confidence in God began to deepen beyond performance, beyond attention, beyond human approval. And now you can understand something that once felt unfair. Some doors did not open for you because God was not preparing you for comfort. He was preparing you for confrontation. He was building in you the kind of inner life that would stand steady when the battle appeared. David could not face Goliath with borrowed courage. He needed the strength that comes from knowing God in private. In the same way, your detours have not been meaningless. Every lonely prayer, every tear, every season when you had no one to lean on except God has been storing something within you that will become essential in the moment of challenge. So do not despise the field, and do not despise the giant. The field taught David who God was. The giant revealed what had been built in him there. The same pattern may be unfolding in your life. What looked like delay may have been preparation. What looked like exclusion may have been insulation. What looked like rejection may have been God keeping you from shallow victories so He could lead you into something far more powerful. This is why you must not run back to old places begging for acceptance. There is a battle ahead that requires the version of you that only hidden process can produce. And notice this as well. David was underestimated by nearly everyone around him. His brothers questioned him. Saul doubted him. The enemy mocked him. Yet none of those voices could rewrite what God had placed inside him. That is a word for you now. You do not need universal agreement in order to walk in divine assignment. You You do not need every person to understand you before you obey God. You do not need the approval of the fearful before you answer the call on your life. The battle is not won by waiting until everyone believes in you. It is won by remembering who sent you. If this message is strengthening your spirit and helping you see your path more clearly, let that support flow gently by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more hearts can be reached. And if you feel led to give, there is a way to donate in the description as an act of support for this work. Even that simple response can become part of someone else's turning point. Beloved chosen one, you are not standing in front of proof that God abandoned you. You are standing in front of proof that your faith must mature beyond appearances. David was never rejected by God when he was sent back to the field, and he was never forgotten when a giant stood in his way. In the same way, you are not forgotten now. The obstacle in front of you is not announcing your defeat. It is announcing the next place where God's hand will be revealed through your life. Hold your ground. Keep your spirit steady. The same God who saw you in hidden places is still guiding you. And what looks too large today may become the very stage where your redirection begins to make holy and undeniable sense. Beloved chosen one, by now you can begin to see that David's difference was never an accident. It was not a flaw in his personality, and it was not a problem that needed to be corrected so he could finally fit into the expectations of others. His life was shaped with a distinctness that people around him often failed to understand. Even after he was anointed, even after he stood before Goliath, even after victory made his name known, he still did not move through life as someone easily absorbed into the ordinary patterns around him. There was something set apart about him, something marked, something that could not be reduced to the comfort of blending in. And this is where your own heart must listen carefully. Because one of the deepest pains you have carried is the pain of feeling different in places that demanded sameness. You have known what it is to look around and feel that you do not move like the others. Do not hunger for the same things. Do not find peace in the same compromises. And do not feel at home in the same shallow rhythms. You may have tried to adjust yourself. You may have softened your words, hidden your convictions, dimmed your passion, or pretended not to care so that others would feel more comfortable with your presence. But no matter how much you tried to adapt, something in you remained awake. Something in you refused to become smaller just to earn temporary acceptance. And perhaps that resistance has made your path lonelier than you expected. Yet loneliness is not always the sign that you are doing life wrong. Sometimes it is the evidence that your spirit cannot live where your calling would suffocate. David knew this pattern well. After his victory over Goliath, the songs of the people began to reveal what was already stirring beneath the surface. Saul heard the praise surrounding David, and what should have been received as a blessing soon became a threat in the king's mind. David had done nothing but serve, nothing but obey, nothing but step forward in courage when others stood back in fear. Yet his faithfulness did not earn simple gratitude. It awakened jealousy. This is an important truth for you then, because many chosen ones keep trying to understand rejection as though it must have come from some failure in them. But sometimes rejection rises not because you have done wrong, but because your obedience exposes insecurity in people who want to remain unchallenged. That does not mean you become proud. David's life was not a lesson in self-exaltation. He did not chase honor as a performance. His strength came from God, and his heart, even with its human struggles, kept returning to God. Yet the more clearly his difference became visible, the more dangerous life around him became. Saul turned suspicious. The atmosphere shifted. The one who should have made room for David instead began trying to control, contain, and eventually destroy him. David was not rejected because he lacked value. He was resisted because what rested on him could not be fully managed by a fearful spirit. This is often what happens when a chosen person begins to walk in truth. Your peace can unsettle the restless. Your sincerity can expose the artificial. Your courage can trouble the comfortable. Your refusal to join what is empty can make others feel judged even when you have not spoken a word against them. The presence of light creates its own contrast. David did not need to announce his difference at every moment. His life itself made it visible. And in the same way, some of the tension around you has not existed because you were trying to be difficult. It exists because something in your spirit refuses to belong to what can't honor God. That is why you must stop treating your difference as a curse. It is not a sentence of isolation. It is a sign of design. God does not shape every vessel in the same way, and He does not call every life into the same assignment. Some are built to move quietly within structures. Others are called to challenge them, survive outside them, and eventually lead beyond them. David could play the harp in the king's court, but he could not become Saul. He could serve within the system for a season, but he was never meant to be absorbed by its fear, jealousy, and compromise. In the same way, you may spend time in places that do not fully reflect your destiny. But you must never confuse temporary placement with permanent identity. Hear this scripture and let it steady you. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalm chapter 139, verse 14. That truth is not only about creation in the physical sense, it reaches into the holy distinctness of who you are before God. You are not a mistake in need of human correction. You are not too much because your spirit carries depth. You are not wrong because your heart seeks what is real. You are not broken because you cannot settle for what leaves your soul empty. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and that includes the very qualities that others struggle to understand. David's life teaches you that being different will attract both favor and opposition. It will open doors and create tension. It will draw the right people closer and push the wrong spirits into discomfort. But none of that changes the meaning of the difference itself. It is not there to torment you. It is there to prepare you. It is there to keep you from settling in places beneath your calling. It is there to make sure that when God leads you forward, you do not confuse popularity with peace or approval with purpose. So stop grieving that you were never able to become what certain people expected. Stop calling it failure because you could not fit where your soul was never meant to remain. Like David, you may have been welcome for a moment and then resisted when your distinctness became too visible. But that resistance is not the end of your story. It is another sign that God is separating you from spaces that cannot carry the fullness of who you are becoming. And one day, what made you feel out of place will be understood as the very mark that proved you were set apart all along. Before we go deeper, there is one gentle note for the listener who has been feeling mentally exhausted, scattered, overstimulated, or unable to focus after carrying so much emotional pressure. A product called the Genius Wave, also known in some places as Genius Song, is presented as a short daily audio experience designed to help with focus, mental clarity, creative flow, calmer thinking, and better emotional balance through sound-based brainwave entrainment. It is described as something people use for a few minutes a day when they feel stuck, foggy, drained, or unable to think clearly. If that sounds relevant to what you are facing, you can look for the official information in the description or the pinned comment. Please be careful with fake versions and only use the official source if you decide to try it. Now return with me to David, because the deeper issue in your life has never only been tiredness of the mind. It has also been the hidden warfare that rises when a person carries something from God. By this point in David's journey, the tension around him had become unmistakable. Saul was no longer simply unsettled, he was threatened. The same David who once brought relief into Saul's atmosphere now became the one Saul wanted gone. That shift matters because it reveals something many chosen ones learn too late. Some people love what you carry only until it begins to reveal what they lack. They welcome your light while it serves them. But once that light exposes the darkness they protect, their response changes. You have likely seen this in your own life. At first, people seem drawn to your sincerity, your peace, your strength, your insight, or the way your spirit carried something different. But when that difference did not bow to manipulation, did not blend into compromise, and did not become easy to control, affection turned cold, support became suspicion, nearness became distance. Suddenly you felt the room change around you, and you could not always explain why. David knew that atmosphere. He lived in the ache of being useful to someone who still did not truly love what God had placed on him. This is how spiritual warfare often feels when it comes through human hands. It rarely introduces itself with clear labels. It hides inside envy, tension, false accusation, emotional volatility, or strange hostility that seems bigger than the moment itself. Saul's conflict with David was not only political, it was spiritual. David's presence stirred what was unstable in Saul. The call on David's life made visible what Saul was losing. And when insecurity joins itself to power, it often tries to destroy what reminds it of truth. That truth may explain more of your story than you once realized. Some of the rejection you endured was not random human behavior. It was resistance to the destiny attached to your life. The enemy often studies what God is building in a person, and then seeks the most personal route of attack. If he cannot stop the calling at its source, he tries to wound the heart carrying it. He tries to isolate you, confuse you, exhaust you, and make you interpret opposition as proof that you should step back from what God has shown you. But the pattern in David's life exposes that strategy. The attack intensified not because David had no destiny, but because he did. This is why you must be careful not to read warfare as failure. When Saul hurled the spear, David could have concluded that obedience had led him into danger without purpose. He could have believed that service had gained him nothing but risk. He could have let bitterness define the rest of his path. Yet even in that hostile environment, God was teaching him discernment. Not every table where you are invited is a place where you are safe. Not every leader over you is healed enough to celebrate what God is doing in you. Not every season of service is meant to become a season of permanence. Sometimes God lets you see the spear so you will finally stop trying to call a dangerous place your home. And perhaps that is a needed word for you now. You may still be mourning places and people that God has already exposed as harmful. You may still be hoping that if you become more pleasing, more silent, more useful, or more patient, the atmosphere will change. But David's story teaches that some environments do not need your greater sacrifice. They need your departure, not because you are weak, but because your calling cannot mature under the shadow of someone committed to resisting it. Leaving what wounds you is not always rebellion. Sometimes it is obedience. Yet even this must be held with wisdom, because David did not let warfare turn him into the image of his attacker. He did not become Saul in response to Saul. He did not surrender his inner life to hatred. He fled, he grieved, he learned, he endured. But he remained under God's hand. That is the hard and holy path before you as well. You are not called merely to survive opposition. You are called to survive it without becoming twisted by it. You are called to come through rejection still able to hear God, still able to love truth, still able to walk in humility, still able to trust that what is happening around you does not change who God is. So when the old pain rises again and tries to tell you that rejection means you are unworthy, remember David in the house of Saul. Remember that the attack often comes because your presence carries a future the enemy already fears. Remember that God does not waste even hostile seasons. He uses them to sharpen your vision, loosen your dependence on human approval, and train you to recognize the difference between being tolerated and being truly received. What once confused you will begin to make sense. What once broke your confidence will begin to strengthen your discernment. And what once felt like personal rejection will be revealed as another form of divine redirection. Because God loves you too much to let your destiny remain in the hands of wounded people who cannot honor what He has chosen. Beloved chosen one, there comes a season in a called life when the delay feels almost harder than the battle. The battle at least gives you something visible to confront. Delay is different. Delay tests your spirit in silence. Delay makes you sit with questions you cannot quickly answer. Delay makes you live between what God has shown you and what your hands can presently touch. And this is exactly where David's story becomes a mirror for your own. Because after being anointed and after proving his courage in public, he still had to walk through long and painful seasons where the promise seemed postponed by danger, misunderstanding, and exile. This is where many hearts become weary. You can endure a dramatic challenge for a moment, but what do you do when the challenge stretches into months, then years, then a season so long that you start wondering whether the word over your life is still alive? David knew that ache. He had already been marked by God, yet he found himself running through wilderness places, hiding in caves, living as though the future had moved farther away instead of closer. Saul's hostility had not disappeared. The throne had not appeared. The path ahead did not look like swift fulfillment. It looked like uncertainty. It looked like survival. It looked like one more day of trusting God without clear evidence that the promise was near. That is where your own story may feel painfully familiar. You have carried the sense that God is doing something meaningful in your life, yet the timing has stretched beyond what you expected. The open door did not come when you prayed for it. The peace you thought would arrive quickly took longer. The breakthrough seemed to move at a pace that tested every part of your inner life. And because of that, you may have started questioning whether delay means denial. But David's wilderness years answer that fear with quiet power. Delay is not always the absence of God. Sometimes it is the workshop of God. In the cave seasons, David was not being discarded. He was being formed. Things were being built into him that could not be built on a throne too soon. Humility was deepening. Discernment was sharpening. Dependence on God was becoming more than language. Character was being tested where no crowd could reward it. And perhaps most importantly, David was learning how to carry pain without letting pain become his master. That is the hidden greatness of those seasons. God was not merely preparing David to receive power. He was preparing him to survive power without being corrupted by it. You need to hear that clearly because some of your delays have protected you from becoming powerful before you were healed enough to handle it. If God had opened everything when you first asked, you might have entered your next season carrying wounds that would have poisoned the very thing you prayed for. If certain doors had opened early, your identity might have attached itself to outcomes instead of to God. If certain people had said yes before your spirit matured, you might have confused access with assignment. Delay has a way of revealing what still needs to be surrendered, strengthened, purified, and trusted. David's time in hiding was also a time of separation. People gathered around him there, but not the kind of people chosen by status. They were distressed, discontented, burdened, and broken in various ways. Yet out in that unlikely place, God was shaping a leader who would know how to carry people, not merely rule over them. That matters because your detours are also shaping the way you will one day serve others. The loneliness, the disappointments, the tears, and the waiting are not just about you surviving. They are also making you compassionate. They are teaching you how to recognize pain in others. They are giving your future influence a tenderness it would never have developed in easy seasons. So do not insult your hidden years by calling them empty. They may be the richest years of formation you will ever know. They may hold the prayers that make you real, the lessons that make you safe, and the surrender that makes you usable in God's hand. Even now, while you are wondering why progress feels slow, heaven may be doing its deepest work beneath the visible surface. David did not waste the wilderness when he turned it into a place of prayer, worship, restraint, and listening. The cave did not cancel the crown. It carved the man who would one day carry it. And there is another truth here that must not be missed. During those years, David had opportunities to force the outcome. Saul came within reach. The shortcut was possible. The temptation to seize by flesh what had been promised by God stood right in front of him. Yet David refused to build his future by violating God's timing. That decision reveals a holy strength you also need now. Not every opportunity is permission. Not every easy route is obedience. Not every chance to end your pain quickly is aligned with God's way. Sometimes the deepest proof of trust is that you refuse the shortcut. If this message is helping you breathe differently in your waiting, let that support move naturally by liking, sharing, and subscribing so others in their own wilderness can find this encouragement. And if you feel led to support this work more directly, there is a way to donate in the description. Beloved chosen one, your delay is not a verdict against you. It is not proof that heaven changed its mind. It is not evidence that you misunderstood the call. It may be the very place where God is doing the work that will keep your future from destroying you. So stay close to Him in the cave. Let the hidden season finish what it came to do. Let patience have its perfect work. The same God who anointed David in secret was with him in every dark place, every narrow escape, every exhausting detour, and every long unanswered stretch. And that same God is with you now, using even delay as redirection, shaping you with wisdom, guarding you from premature arrival, and preparing a future that will not merely impress others but truly reflect His hand on your life. Beloved chosen one, there comes a moment in every sacred journey when the battle is no longer only around you. It is within you. The danger is no longer just the spear, the wilderness, the betrayal, or the delay. The danger becomes the silent turning of the heart. This is the moment when exhaustion begins to whisper. This is the moment when disappointment tries to become identity. This is the moment when the soul asks whether it should still trust, still obey, still hope, still remain tender before God after carrying so much weight for so long. David came to that kind of edge more than once, and that is why his story speaks so deeply into this part of your life. There are seasons when faith feels strong and bright, when courage rises naturally, when prayer comes easily, and when the sense of God's presence seems close enough to touch. But there are also seasons when the chosen one feels worn thin. The waiting has gone on too long. The misunderstanding has repeated itself too many times. The heart has recovered from one wound only to meet another. The spirit still believes, but the emotions begin to stagger. And what makes this moment so dangerous is that outwardly you may still look composed, while inwardly you are standing at a crossroads between surrender and bitterness. David knew what it meant to stand there. He had been pursued, hunted, and pushed into uncertainty again and again. He had shown restraint when he could have taken revenge. He had trusted God while moving through places of fear and instability. He had kept going when many others would have abandoned the path. But even a chosen heart can grow tired. There were moments when David's words revealed the strain within him. Moments when his soul had to fight not to collapse under the pressure of the journey. This should comfort you, because it means that spiritual fatigue does not make you false. It makes you human. The question is not whether you will ever feel weak. The question is what you will do when weakness arrives. This is where many people make decisions that alter the atmosphere of their future. In the moment of deep weariness, they start reaching for anything that promises relief. They lower their standards. They return to places God already led them out of. They reopen doors that once harmed them. They attach themselves to voices that soothe the flesh but starve the spirit. They stop praying with honesty and start performing survival. They do not fall all at once. They drift. And drifting is dangerous precisely because it often feels reasonable in the moment. It feels understandable. It feels deserved. That is why this is the place where you must become especially watchful. David's strength was not that he never felt despair. His strength was that he kept turning back toward God inside it. He did not hide the condition of his soul from the Lord. He poured it out. He wrestled in prayer. He spoke from the ache. He let anguish become conversation with God instead of separation from God. That is one of the holiest lessons you can carry from his life. Your dark moment does not have to become your disconnection. It can become your deepest honesty. God is not threatened by your trembling. He is not offended by the tears you cannot explain. He is not shocked by the days when your heart feels split between trust and exhaustion. What matters is that you keep bringing your real condition into his presence. Hear this scripture and let it settle like breath returning to a weary chest. Why are you cast down, O my soul, and why are you in turmoil within me? Hope in God. Psalm chapter 42, verse 5. That is not the voice of someone who never struggled. That is the voice of someone refusing to let struggle have the final word. It is the sound of a soul speaking back to its own despair. It is the sound of inner warfare meeting holy resistance. David teaches you that faith is not always loud triumph. Sometimes faith is the quiet act of telling your own soul to remain pointed toward God when everything in you feels heavy. That is the turning point before you now. Not the turning point of public recognition. Not the turning point of visible victory. The turning point of the inner life. Will you let sorrow harden you? Or will you let it deepen you? Will you let rejection define you? Or will you let it refine your discernment? Will you let delay make you cynical? Or will you allow it to mature your trust? This is the moment when destiny is often decided in secret. No crowd sees it. No applause follows it. Yet heaven watches closely because the private choice to remain aligned with God carries enormous power. Do not do it. No matter the price, do not surrender your heart to bitterness just because the road has been long. Do not make an agreement with hopelessness just because the answer has not arrived yet. Do not call yourself abandoned when God is still sustaining your breath, your mind, your discernment, and the small ember of faith still alive within you. That ember matters. Guard it, feed it with truth. Speak to your soul like David did. Remind yourself that pain can speak, but it does not get to reign. Beloved chosen one, the most dangerous moment is often the one just before deeper clarity begins to break through. The enemy knows this, and that is why pressure increases when your spirit is close to a new level of surrender, wisdom, and authority. He wants you to quit in the invisible place. He wants you to turn back just before the dawn widens. But you are not being carried this far to collapse in the doorway. Like David, you are being invited to let the heart return to God again, not in polished language, but in truth. And as you do, you will discover that the same God who sustained you in the field, in the court, and in the wilderness is still sustaining you now, keeping you from breaking in the very place where your soul is learning how to rise. Beloved chosen one, after the wilderness, after the hiding, after the tears, after the exhausting strain of being pursued while still carrying a promise that had not fully arrived, there comes a holy shift in David's story that speaks directly to your life now. The shift is not only that his circumstances begin to change, it is that the identity forged in hidden places starts to stand in the open without apology. This is the season when what rejection tried to crush begins to rise with authority. This is the season when what delay tried to bury begins to stand with quiet strength. This is the season when you stop asking broken places to tell you who you are and start receiving your identity from the God who called you before anyone welcomed you. That is what David had to grow into. He could not live forever as the overlooked shepherd in his own mind. He could not remain internally trapped in the memory of being underestimated, even after God had already spoken over his life. He had to let the truth of God's choice become stronger than the memory of human dismissal. And that is where you are being led now. Not merely into relief, but into restored identity. Not merely into survival, but into authority. Because as long as you define yourself by what wounded you, you will keep shrinking in moments when God is actually calling you to stand. This is one of the enemy's oldest strategies. If he cannot destroy the calling, he tries to damage your self-understanding. He wants you gifted but hesitant. He wants you anointed but insecure. He wants you spiritually alive but emotionally chained to old rejection. He wants you to second-guess your voice, your place, your discernment, and your right to walk in what God has assigned to you. That way, even when doors begin to open and you enter them as someone still apologizing for existing. But that is not the future God intends for you. David was not brought through battle and wilderness just to remain inwardly small. He was being prepared to carry what God had chosen for him with courage. And so are you. The rejection you experienced may have bruised your confidence, but it does not own your future. The words spoken over you may have cut deeply, but they do not outrank the word God has spoken over your life. The seasons when people overlooked you may still echo in your memory, but those echoes do not carry final authority. There comes a moment when healing begins to look like agreement with heaven. You stop rehearsing every old dismissal and start declaring what God says instead. You stop bending your identity around pain and begin letting truth rebuild you from within. David's path into authority was not built on pride. That matters. Godly authority does not mean becoming loud, harsh, or self-exalted. It means becoming settled in who God is and who you are because of Him. It means no longer needing everyone to approve you before you obey. It means no longer mistaking false humility for spiritual maturity. It means being able to stand in your place without arrogance and without fear. David learned that true authority flows from surrender, not from self-invention. The hand of God on his life became more visible because his heart had been trained to depend on God rather than on the unstable applause of people. That is why your authority must be restored at the level of spirit first. Before anything changes around you, something has to rise within you. You must stop speaking about yourself as though rejection has the final word. You must stop reducing your life to the chapters where others failed to see you. You must stop carrying the posture of someone permanently pushed aside. You are not called to live with the soul of an outcast when God has already called you His own. You are not meant to drag old labels into new seasons. The same God who kept David alive in caves and chaos is able to restore the inner ground of your identity until you walk with a steadiness that no past wound can govern. Hear this scripture and let it anchor you. He raises up the poor from the dust and lifts the needy from the ash heap to make them sit with princes. 1 Samuel chapter 2 verse 8. That is the kind of God who has been writing your story. He is not limited by where others placed you. He is not trapped by the labels people used against you. He is not confused by the seasons when you felt low, forgotten, or cast aside. He is the God who lifts, restores, establishes, and repositions. He knows how to take a life that others dismissed and bring it into a place of honor by His own hand. In the same way, your confidence will not come from finally being approved by everyone who once doubted you. It will come from knowing who holds you and who is able to raise you. And once that truth takes root, your life begins to change in ways that are both visible and invisible. You speak differently. You pray differently. You make decisions differently. You stop forcing access to spaces that dishonor your spirit. You stop mistaking tolerance for connection. You stop begging to remain where God has already called you out. You begin to walk as someone entrusted, not discarded. Chosen, not cursed. Led, not lost. That shift is powerful because the world around you can feel when a person no longer lives from the wound alone. There is a clarity in you then, a weight, a peace, a clean strength that does not need to prove itself. So this is your moment to respond in agreement. Comment, God lifts me. Beloved chosen one. What rejection tried to steal can be restored by God in fuller measure than you imagine. Not only opportunities, not only peace, not only direction, identity, authority, inner stature. The quiet knowing that you belong to God and therefore do not need to tremble before old voices anymore. David's life proves that the one left in the field can still be established by heaven. The one hunted through the wilderness can still stand in strength. The one who was misunderstood can still become clear in purpose. And now the same invitation is before you. Rise out of the old story. Rise out of the false names. Rise into the identity God has been protecting all along. Because what He restores, no human rejection can finally take away. Beloved chosen one, There is a mystery in David's life that only becomes clear after the pain has done its work. It is the mystery of how suffering, when surrendered to God, can become a shelter for others. Not because suffering is good in itself, and not because betrayal, exile, fear, or loneliness should ever be called pleasant. They should not. The wound is real, the nights are real, the tears are real. But when God lays His hand upon a life, even the hardest chapters can be transformed into a source of wisdom, mercy, strength, and refuge for people who will one day need what you learned in the dark. This is where your story begins to lift beyond personal survival and step into holy purpose. By the time David began to stand in greater authority, he was no longer only a man with private memories of rejection. He had become someone whose life could hold the weakness of others because he had walked through his own. The field had given him solitude with God. The confrontation with Goliath had given him courage. Saul's hostility had given him discernment. The wilderness had given him dependence. The cave had given him compassion. All of it was painful, yet none of it was wasted. Each difficult place had formed something that would later become necessary, not only for David, but for the people entrusted to his care. That is the part you must not miss. Your pain has never only been about you. God does not merely bring a chosen one through fire so that person can say they survived. He brings them through so they can carry oil for others. He brings them through so their voice gains weight, their compassion gains depth, and their presence becomes a place where wounded people can breathe again. David became that kind of presence because he knew what it meant to need mercy, to need direction, to need God when there was nothing else to stand on. He was not leading from theory. He was leading from encounter. And perhaps that explains why some of your journey has been so intense. You were not being prepared for a shallow life. You were being shaped into someone whose words would one day carry healing because they had first been tested in affliction. You were being formed into someone who could recognize hidden pain in others because you had lived with it yourself. You were being taught how to stand near broken hearts without judging them, how to listen without rushing, how to strengthen without pretending that the valley is easy. Those qualities rarely come from lives that were never shaken. They are often born in people who know exactly what it means to be redirected by God through places they would never have chosen. David's later life, with all its complexity, still reveals this beautiful pattern. He became a king who could speak to God from a real heart. He could write songs from anguish and trust at the same time. He could lead a people while still knowing his own dependence on mercy. And because of that, his life continued to bless generations far beyond his own days. The shepherd boy became a refuge because God had met him in hidden places. The rejected one became a source of strength because he had learned how to survive without losing his soul. The one once chased and cornered became a witness that God can carry a person through darkness without letting darkness own them. That is where your story is heading as well. The rejection that once made you feel useless will not have the last word. The pain that once made you feel isolated can become the very place from which your compassion flows. The detours that confused you can become the wisdom that guides someone else. The season when you felt forgotten can become the reason you notice the overlooked person in the room. The nights when you had to pray with trembling can become the reason you know how to sit beside someone else in their own trembling without offering empty words. Hear this scripture and let it shine over everything you have endured. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Psalm chapter 34, verse 18. David did not write those words as a man untouched by sorrow. He wrote them as someone who had discovered in real places of distress, that God does not run from brokenness. He comes near to it. He does not despise the crushed spirit. He rescues, sustains, and restores. That truth is not only for your comfort, it is also for your calling. Because once you know God as the one who comes near to the brokenhearted, you begin to carry that same nearness into the lives of others. This means your wounds do not have to become monuments of shame. In God's hands, they can become openings through which grace flows. Not because you glorify the pain, but because you refuse to let pain be meaningless. David's life was not cleansed of struggle by pretending it never happened. It was redeemed because he kept bringing it to God until the ashes carried testimony. The same can happen in you. What hurt you can become what softens you. What nearly broke you can become what deepens you. What isolated you can become what equips you to recognize the lonely and draw them toward hope. So do not measure your life only by what you lost. Do not reduce your story to the chapters where others failed to honor you. There is fruit growing from places you once thought were dead. There is strength rising from prayers you thought were too weak to matter. There is a tenderness being formed in you that will become one of the holiest things you carry. David was never rejected by God in the field, in the court, or in the cave. He was being shaped into someone whose life could shelter others. And you are being shaped in the same way. One day you will look back and realize that the very pain that made you ask where God was became the place where His presence became so real in you that other people could finally find Him there too. Beloved chosen one. Now you arrive at the place where the pattern becomes clear. What looked like rejection was never God's refusal. It was God's redirection. What looked like loss was often protection. What looked like delay was often preparation. What looked like isolation was often consecration. And what looked like the breaking of your plans was, in truth, the preserving of your calling. David's life has walked beside you through this message for a reason. He was overlooked, misunderstood, opposed, hunted, and pressed by long seasons that did not seem to match the oil that had touched his life. Yet through every field, every court, every cave, every battle, and every unanswered stretch, God was still writing the story. In the same way, your life has never been drifting outside divine care. You have been guided, even in the chapters that made the least sense while you were inside them. Now you can see the thread more clearly. The field was not a dismissal, it was formation. The giant was not a wall, it was revelation. The wilderness was not abandonment, it was deep training. The cave was not failure, it was hidden preparation. The delayed throne was not a canceled promise, it was a protected promise. And because that is true in David's life, it can also be true in yours. You do not need to fear every closed door as though it means heaven has turned away. You do not need to interpret every detour as punishment. Sometimes the most loving thing God does is keep you from arriving too early, attaching too deeply, trusting the wrong voices, or building your future in places that cannot carry the weight of who you are becoming. This is why your spirit can rest now, not because every question has already been answered, and not because every pain has already been fully healed, but because you have seen enough to know that God's hand has never left you. Even when people misread you, God knew you. Even when others excluded you, God marked you. Even when you were wounded by human insecurity, God guarded your purpose. Even when the road seemed to vanish into uncertainty when He was still leading, that truth brings holy stability to the soul. It lets you stop chasing explanations from people who cannot give them. It lets you stop begging old rooms to prove your worth. It lets you stop measuring your future by your most painful memories. Instead, you begin to walk forward with a steadier heart, knowing that your life is not ruled by accident, but by a wisdom greater than your own. And because this message has brought you to that place, a prayer rises naturally here. Let it rise with you now. Father, in the quiet of this moment, I place my whole story before you. I bring the doors that closed, the relationships that broke, the seasons that confused me, the wounds I still do not fully know how to name, and the questions I have carried for longer than I wanted to. I ask you to cleanse my heart from every lie that told me I was rejected by you. Heal the places in me that still tremble from old pain. Restore my mind where disappointment made me weary. Restore my identity where human rejection tried to rename me. Teach me to trust your redirection even when I do not yet understand it. Give me David's kind of heart, a heart that keeps returning to you in every field, every battle, every cave, and every waiting season. Let my life become free from bitterness, free from striving, free from the need to force what you have not opened. Make me steady in spirit, clear in discernment, and faithful in the place where you have me now. And let every detour, every delay, and every hidden chapter be turned by your hand into wisdom, compassion, and strength for the days ahead. In your mercy, lead me where I truly belong. Amen. Beloved chosen one, that prayer is not empty language. It is a doorway. It is the turning of the heart away from pain as identity and toward God as source. It is the moment when you stop merely surviving your history and begin surrendering it. That surrender matters because elevation in God is never just about arriving somewhere higher. It is about becoming someone deeper, cleaner, softer before Him, and stronger in truth. David did not simply rise to a throne. He rose through surrender, through formation, through trust, and through the long death of false dependence on human approval. The same kind of elevation is being prepared in you. So go forward with this certainty. You were never forgotten in the hidden place. You were never disqualified by the delay. You were never abandoned in the pain. You were never behind God's plan. Every hard turn, every waiting room, every sorrowful rerouting has been held within His sight. And because He is faithful, the redirection itself will become part of the testimony. One day you will speak with peace about things that once made you cry. One day you will recognize protection where you once only saw loss. One day you will thank God for prayers He did not answer the way you asked, because you will finally see what He was preserving. If this message has met you in a real place and helped you hear your journey differently, let that response move naturally by liking, sharing, and subscribing so this word can reach another heart that is still sitting in confusion and pain. And if you feel led to support this work in a deeper way, there is a way to donate in the description. Sometimes even that quiet act of support becomes part of helping this kind of encouragement find the exact person who needs it at the exact moment they are close to giving up. Beloved chosen one, lift your head now. Do not return to the old language. Do not keep calling yourself rejected when God has been redirecting you with love, wisdom, and precision. Do not keep grieving as though the story ended in the cave. David's God is still your God, the one who found him in the field, sustained him in the wilderness, preserved him in danger, and established him in time is the same one still moving over your life. You are still being led. You are still being formed. You are still being prepared. And what is ahead is not random. It is sacred. Walk toward it with peace. Walk toward it with trust. Walk toward it knowing that what God redirects, He also restores, and what He restores, He fills with a glory that no human rejection can stop. Beloved chosen one, let this rest gently in your spirit as you leave this message. You do not have to understand every chapter to trust the author. You do not have to force what God has closed. You do not have to fear the places where the road changed. The same God who carried David is carrying you. The same God who protected the promise in hidden seasons is protecting yours. Let your heart be still. Let the old pain loosen its grip. Let the false names fall away. Let hope breathe again. What was delayed was not denied. What was redirected was not destroyed. And what seemed lost in one season may yet become the very evidence of God's mercy in another. Stay close to Him. Keep your heart soft. Keep your spirit listening. The story is not ending in rejection. It is opening into purpose. It is opening into wisdom. It is opening into peace. And in time, you will see that God's redirection was one of the greatest gifts of your life.